have another really important topic to talk about tonight on the Joy Reid Show. And this one is really, really important health-wise, because in this country, we have an epidemic that seems to not want to go away. And this is an epidemic that reared its head in the 1980s during the Reagan era. HIV/AIDS it first appeared and really scared the hell out of the world. Despite revolutionary changes in survivorship and health when it comes to HIV/AIDS, we still face a crisis of increased infections and stigma regarding HIV. But people, including some you know, are coming together to make a difference. And joining me now is Raheem DeVaughn, Grammy Award-winning artist and activist known for his amazing R&B and neo-soul music, and a community leader extraordinaire. And with him is Dr. Toyin Nwafor, Executive Director of Gilead Sciences, U.S. HIV Medical Affairs. Thank you both for being here. And I want to start with you, Raheem, because, you know, for such a long time, there was an incredible stigma associated with HIV/AIDS, to the point where when EZE died, or when Magic Johnson announced that he had HIV/AIDS, or Arthur Ashe, there was such a stigma that people really didn't want to associate even those deaths with this illness. You know, and that has changed a lot. How do you think that it changed so much?
Well, first, thank you for having me on the show. You know, I think, technology has played a hand in that. Of course, social media, all the different platforms that we have now to get the information out. Being the new radio voice and personality of the original Quiet Storm on 96.3 WHUR, I grew up listening to Melvin Lindsay, whom we just celebrated his birthday, and he passed from complications of HIV and AIDS. So, to have this partnership with Gilead, I'll say it's probably been this is my second year now. Last year we touched over 46,000, 4,000 short of 50,000 women. And of course, that made for a great date night. So if you can imagine how many women were there, you can imagine how many men were there. And, I personally like to use my gift at this point, to have I call it like a party with a purpose, edutainment, if you will, to be able to entertain, but also educate.
And Dr. Nwafor, I still remember when Freddie Mercury died and people didn't even know what he died from at first. People just didn't really announce it. But one of the reasons that we've seen so much progress and that Magic Johnson is still here with us is science. And PrEP is one of those like revolutionary scientific discoveries that's helped people live long. Explain how long it's been on the market, and how do people get access to it if they find that they are living with HIV/AIDS or living with HIV.
Right. Thank you so much. So yeah, Gilead Sciences, like we said, is a biopharmaceutical company and really has over the last 3 decades been committed to breakthroughs and advances in medicine for HIV, for hepatitis, for cancer. And so there have been innovation and breakthroughs in medicine, both in treatment and prevention of HIV. And PrEP has been available, pre-exposure prophylaxis, and that's for people not living with HIV to protect from acquiring HIV. So pre-exposure prophylaxis or PrEP has been around since 2012, so 13 years. It was July of 2012, and I remember exactly where I was when that approval got in place for medication to prevent HIV. Since then, with innovation and advances in therapy and commitment to improving on what we built on, there are now even more options available for HIV prevention with orals and now injectables and longer acting injectables, including something that was approved just last month for HIV prevention. With that said, it's important to know that, medications are great, but medications getting to the right people at the right time even better. So it's important to be able to talk about with innovation, how are we making sure that people know about the innovation, that they are candidates for pre-exposure prophylaxis or PrEP, and that how they can do that is with partnership with their healthcare provider. So programs like where we're able to partner with community, with healthcare providers and have these conversations about HIV prevention is really how we get to where we need to be with HIV prevention and treatment to truly end the HIV epidemic. And it always starts with an HIV test.
Yeah. Is that getting harder to do, though? I mean, this current environment is not exactly pro-science. It's not exactly encouraging people to have healthcare. And in some cases, people are losing their healthcare. Is that getting harder?
I think what it does is it allows us and forces us to be more innovative, more creative, think about more strategic partnerships, and really have the community and advocacy continue more than ever before, right? But that I think comes with having people understand the why behind this, right? Why, HIV is disproportionately impacting our communities. What do we know about HIV? What do we know about treatments? Making sure we're having those conversations and figuring out both from the grassroots, from the community levels, how we continue to advocate for people and how we empower people to advocate for themselves and continue to make sure that whatever we do in pharma, in whatever industry, that we're looking at it through a lens of equity so that our innovation doesn't worsen existing disparities. It's definitely challenging times. I think we can all agree. But through that, there are people who are coming up with really creative ways of making sure that we look out for the health of our communities, for our patients and for the communities we serve, and really looking at champions who can take this forward.
Well, one of them is you. I have to go back because this is, I think, one of the challenges, Raheem, is that people, back starting in the 80s, when we first heard about HIV for the very first time, when, well, Ronald Reagan wouldn't even say the word AIDS, it was really challenging. But the challenge was men, particularly Black men, gay Black men, because there was a double stigma attached, right? People didn't want to be identified because this was something that was associated with gay Black men. But now we are seeing that Black women are one of the fastest growing groups who is acquiring HIV. And so talk about that, because a lot of these sisters out here at date night with your music, so you have a special kind of avenue into being able to talk to Black women. How hard is it to get that conversation to happen when people have kind of dismissed even women in general, but Black women as somebody who potentially could be candidates to get HIV?
I'm running to the idea, like we can't run from it. It's about breaking down the stigmas and being, being safe and having the conversations that we need to have. Black women make up for 12, 13% of the population here and make up for more than half of the new cases. Uh, Again, it's at a proportion that obviously the work needs to be done. Whether for me as an entertainer, I don't, it's not always about being on stage and singing. In some cases, we're doing community activist events, meeting with mayors and town hall meetings and things of that nature to know on the ground, what's going on, not just with us as adults, but with the youth as well, where this is running, rampant.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And last question to you, Dr. Nwafor. Where do you see us in 5 years, given that there are these challenges in terms of, the federal funding of science going away, the sort of advocacy for science being reduced? Gilead Sciences is obviously committed to doing this. This is your work. But where do you see us 5 years from now when it comes to HIV/AIDS?
Wow, if I, to put my future facing lens and really thinking about the future, I think we're such at a point where we have the tools to end the epidemic. We know the science, we have the tools for treatment, for prevention, for diagnostics. We've come up with partnerships with community to have that conversation. But I think hand in hand, as we work on making sure that we have medications and access to these therapies, is that we work to normalize the conversation around HIV and sexual health and HIV prevention and HIV testing. Because as long as there's stigma, which you brought up at the beginning of the segment, it really impacts all of those things along the care continuum, from testing to linkage, to staying in care, to going on PrEP, to staying on treatment. So, 5 years from now, with the tools that we have to end the epidemic, the choices that we have where people can figure out what works for their lives, is an oral injectable, with the support we have with diagnostics and with community, it really is important that we are testing and learning in terms of what's working in the communities, who are the trusted messengers and ambassadors in the community, how do we amplify the work that they're doing, and how do we make sure that we continue to advocate so that we can truly end the epidemic for everyone everywhere. And that's a commitment that takes everyone to do. And I think 5 years, we had a goal, a U.S. goal to end the epidemic by 2030. That was an EHE or end the epidemic goal. We're far from it, but we also know that during challenging times is when the most creativity and advocacy comes up, and we're in that time. And I think it's a time to really step up and do more of what we're doing that's working well, come up with new partnerships, and really have the communities understand why this is important.
And Raheem DeVaughn, I'm going to give you the ultimate last word. How do people get more information about this? And what's your best piece of advice for how to start a conversation asking someone, are they tested?
Well, I would say, regardless of your status, know your status, get tested regularly. Shout out to my primary care doctor, Dr. Hodge, who I big up all the time. At the time I was seeking a new primary care physician. And I mean, he just was so informative on so many things, that I said, yeah, I definitely want to try, I want to get on PrEP, and have been on, since on the ingestible since then, being tested regularly, still using condoms, PrEP gives you added protection, but again, is this, I hope to aspire to inspire for my peers and different artists to use your artistry in different ways. You don't have to be Raheem DeVaughn to care about community or to start a movement, and to spark awareness and change.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad that you are Raheem DeVaughn because people love you. People were loving you in the chat on the show tonight. So I want to thank you so much for coming forward. I'm going to have a lot of people writing to me and asking me, can I get in touch? And no, I cannot, everybody. I cannot get you in touch with Raheem DeVaughn. Sorry, no. But I will also big up Dr. Toyin Nwafor. I might be able to get you in touch because she's got a lot of amazing information to give you. Dr. Toyin Nwafor, thank you so much. And I do also want to thank, and I'm going to big up because he was supposed to be a part of this panel, but Dr. Roger Mitchell Jr., who is the current president of the National Medical Association. Major big ups to him too. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all.
Hey, Joy.
Yes.
I also want to give out the website.
Yes.
Healthysexuals.com with the S. Feel free to log on to healthysexuals.com with the S to just, get more information on Gilead Sciences and all the wonderful things we're doing involving the community and PrEP.
Amen. We love a healthy sexuals. That's what we need to be out here, y'all, in these streets. Be healthy sexuals out here. Thank y'all very much. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank y'all for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Share this this channel. Make sure that everybody subscribes to the YouTube channel. 70% of people are lurking, watching these shows and not subscribing. Why would you do that? So make sure that you like, subscribe, and throw some comments. And thank you all for joining the Joy Reid Show. See you on the next one. And goodbye for now.